Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, everybody. Episode 203 is underway. I am your host, Mistress Carrie, and I gotta fix everything. Everything is a mess. Oh my God. I am still killing myself from Vegas. It has been an absolute disaster trying to get back to it. I have so much to talk to you about. Donna says, glad you survived your birthday weekend. Ralph says, horns up. Sully was wrong. You did survive Vegas, says Bish. Yeah, I absolutely did, but literally by the skin of my teeth. Hey, kids, how is everybody tonight? Tom wants to know. Tracy's here. Elsa is here. Ash says, hey, MC fam, and Wednesday, looks like you made it back from Vegas and your crazy birthday weekend. I did. Lots to tell you. So many stories. And a very, very clingy pug because I was gone for 5 days and she was not having it. Hey, y'all, here in Barnhart, Texas. What's up, William? Thanks for hanging out with us in the War Room tonight. First of all, I want to welcome the War Room family and everybody that's been here for the last 203 episodes. But I also want to welcome everybody that is new to the War Room. So if this is your first time hanging out with us, let us know in the comments. Let us know it's your first time so the War Room family can welcome you properly. And also let us know where you're joining us from so that we can properly welcome you and put a little pin in the map of where everybody is. Tom says 203 fucking episodes. Yeah, can you believe we've done this 203 times? I know, it's absolutely insane. And Wednesday has been with me the entire time. So if you're new to the War Room, allow me to introduce you to my co-host and my partner in crime. This is Wednesday the Goth Pug. That's where you can find her on Instagram. And she always knows it's Tuesday night because she comes in and sits on the green couch starting around 7:30 or so as I'm getting ready to start setting up everything. And she also knows that she gets bribed. Lay down. With cookies. Part of the reason I was a couple minutes late for the show is that a certain dog that shall remain nameless Wednesday decided to go into the trash and pull out a tissue that was filled with my Vegas boogers, and she tore it apart and strewed it all over the War Room as I was setting up the show. So not only was I trying to get the show all set up, but I was also cleaning up after this bad girl because she was eating tissues all over the War Room. So disgusting. What's up, Donna? Tom is here. Rachel says, what's up, Wednesday? When will Brent Smith be back on? Alicia wants to know. Back on the podcast? I'm not sure. I've actually been trying to get Zach back on because Brent's been on a couple times. Zach was on episode 2 and he hasn't been back since. So I definitely want to get him on. Brett says Vegas Boogers should be a band name. 100%. Yes. Goodbye pillow, says Eric. Yeah, exactly. Keep drinking. Let's see. We need new t-shirts, says Marino. Yuck, says Tracy. Yeah, exactly. First of all, I want to show you guys my new glass and or mug that I got as a birthday gift from my nieces and nephews. How freaking cool is this? It says, sassy by birth, salty by choice. And I got this as a birthday gift from my nieces and nephews. So I want to thank them all for this because it's totally badass and completely appropriate. So, a little Tito's and soda with lime in there, by the way, tonight. Drank a lot of that in Vegas, and I don't know, was just craving it tonight. Didn't want the ginger beer, although I had a lot of Moscow Mules in Vegas as well. Who am I kidding? I had a lot of everything in Vegas. Let's see. I'll have to check out that Zach Myers episode. Alicia, it's episode number 2. Brent Smith was episode number 1. Episode number 2, we don't do it all the time, but we do it every once in a while where we combine 2 interviews into one episode. Episode 2 features Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour and Zach Myers from Shinedown. And I think now that we're 122 episodes into the podcast, knowing what I know now, I probably would have separated those 2 interviews into separate episodes. But getting the podcast off the ground and lining up a bunch of interviews, I was a little bit afraid at the time to do an interview that was going to sit for a week or two. And what I've noticed in the, last 120 some odd episodes of the podcast is that if I record it and it's a week, or, even 2 weeks, most of the time it's not a big deal. Every once in a while I get caught, like the Kevin Martin episode from Candlebox, the first one, where we literally finished recording the episode and then we said goodbye. And then we got the news that Eddie Van Halen had passed away. And I had to call Kevin back and be like, oh my God, Eddie Van Halen died. We need to talk about this. But I want to be able to release these episodes as closely to when we record them as possible, because the news does change and things do happen. Hey, will you back up? Back up and down. Down. Nicely. Down. Down. Be down. She's very worked up tonight. Back up. Down. High five. High five. Good girl. But yeah, episode 2 has Zach Myers. We talked a lot about sneakers on that episode. Let's see. Eric says Wednesday being so good. Yeah, she's being good right now, but she wasn't being good a few minutes ago, ripping up tissues. Like licking an old swing set. Exactly. Zero is here, but she's actually, so I have to admit something. I lit the wood stoves. I know it's only the beginning of October, but getting back from Vegas where it was almost 100 degrees every day while I was there, and then getting back and having it be like 40 something at night and 50 something during the day, I had to light the wood stoves, which I feel like I've accepted defeat as a New Englander because I haven't turned the heat on yet, but I did light the wood stoves, and Zero is actually laying in front of the wood stove right now because she ain't dumb. Lisa says, Wednesday, missed you. Yeah, she missed me a lot. And she has been up my butt since I got home. Michael Cole says, Xander just hit a slam at Fenway. Oh, yeah, sure. The Red Sox start showing signs of life now. Brett says, we wait until October to turn that heat on. I try to wait as late into October as I can, but lighting the wood stove was an absolute must. It was just way too cold. Mark wants to know, did you hear that Loretta Lynn died? Yeah, 90 years old. The family asking for privacy. She passed away in her home in Kentucky, and the family also saying that a tribute is going to be released and announced at a later date. Eric says, you are from Boston, man up. I'm telling you, I acclimated to Vegas where it was 100 fucking degrees and then came back here and the house was really, really cold. So I lit the goddamn wood stove. I'm manning up. I had to bring the firewood in from outside. No heat until November 1st, says Tracy. I try to not turn the furnace on until at least then, but lighting the wood stove had to happen. So we had to light the wood stove the last 3 days, just to take the chill out. 58 was too cold inside the house. Yeah, exactly. It got into the 50s in the house. Wednesday was like, I'm sleeping in bed with you underneath your blankets, with my head on your pillow, breathing in your face. Like she was just, she spent 5 days with Auntie while I was in Vegas and got spoiled rotten. But when I got home, she literally has not wanted to be more than like 5 feet from me since I got home. So, let's see. Hines says, Walter, get the firewood. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. I want to tell you guys all about my trip. There's so much to talk about. First thing I want to tell you guys, though, and remind you is that it is October, and that means it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Went and got my mammogram last week. I try really hard to remember to schedule the appointments right around my birthday every year, which just happens to coincide with the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But went and got it last week. Guys, I'll tell you this. It fucking sucks. Ladies will tell you the squishing of the boobs to the point where you feel like your boobs are just going to pop and your nipples are going to fly off of you and ricochet across the room off the wall. I don't want to hear anything about the grabbing and the coughing or like the little itty bitty finger, like checking your prostate. Like between the downstairs doctor and the mammogram, like it sucks. It literally takes 10 minutes from the time you walk in the door. That's how long it took me. Make the appointment. You got to go and do it. Early detection is the best thing that you can do. Please encourage the women in your life to go and get their mammograms, but also know that it is not enjoyable at all. Just imagine your balls in a vice, and right when you think they're squeezing them just as much as you can bear, they do the hand crank, right, ladies? They go from the pedal crank to the hand crank, and then it's like, and then they're like, don't move. And you're just standing there like, huh? Okay, yeah, I'm trying not to shriek in pain as you squish my boob like a hamburger patty on a flat top. But Keith says, glad I joined when I did. Yeah, exactly. Hearing Carrie talk about boobs and nipples. You're welcome, Keith. But I do want to remind you that, all joking aside, breast cancer is something that if it's caught early, depending on the type of cancer that you have, the success rate has gotten better and better every year, but you have to go and get the tests. And so just please go and get your mammograms. Guys, please encourage the women in your life to go and get their mammograms. And once you start hitting certain birthdays, the colonoscopy is next. Not looking forward to that one. Made the appointment. I'll fill you in on how that goes later. We're not going to talk about that right now. We already talked about Vegas boogers and mammograms on this episode. I think that's it. All right, let's talk about the cocktail recipe. If you're new to the War Room, I have a library of sorts of cocktail books. And I love having them at the bar. Recipe books for food as well. I love thumbing through just recipes, just looking for ideas. When I have big parties at the house, I try to make a signature cocktail or two. And we started reading through drink recipes just to kind of give us ideas on what we can do with some of that booze that we may inherit or get as gifts or whatever. And especially as we get closer into the holiday season, there's always a lot of booze that gets passed around. So this one is called the Old Pal Cocktail. And I thought it sounded a little bit more cold weathery for some reason. The Old Pal Cocktail is an ounce of rye whiskey, an ounce of Campari, and an ounce of dry vermouth. You stir the ingredients with ice and strain it into a chilled cocktail glass. There's also a variation if you want to sweeten it up a little bit. You can substitute the sweet vermouth for the dry and grenadine for the Campari. Let me try and say that again. Swap out sweet vermouth for dry vermouth and swap out grenadine for Campari. And so obviously if you're going to put grenadine in there, we're always looking for garnishes. And as soon as you start garnishing with cherries, I am all about it. So that one is called the Old Pal Cocktail. And if you guys have any ideas on garnishes, let me know. Also, Jonathan says it's not as common, but men can get breast cancer. 100% they can, Jonathan. And so it is something that even if you're a guy, check your boobs. Just check them. If you don't know how to do a breast exam, there are plenty of YouTube videos teaching you how to do it, the little circles, make your way all the way around. If you don't want to do it, I'm sure you can find somebody on the internet that will be willing to do it for you, or just turn to the person that's in the room with you that's watching the War Room, unless it's a child, and then that might get awkward. But if your partner is there with you, you know what? Check your boobs while we're doing the show tonight. Just if you find anything, even as little as it is, just go and get it checked out. That's the whole purpose of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, is really to just get people having the conversation about, how you need to check yourself. Michael says male breast cancer is common among the Marines who were stationed during the poison water episode at Lejeune between 53 and 87. So there you go. I have a friend that is dealing with the cancer from that, although not breast cancer, but throat cancer, actually. Let's see. Don says, yep, sucks better than the alternative, though. Exactly. So get them checked out. All right, let me fill you in on a little bit of my Vegas adventures. So first of all, if you sent me birthday messages and I have not responded yet, I am going to respond. I have been digging through business stuff and meetings and recording sessions and interviews and so much stuff that I missed being gone in Vegas because I really did try to unplug as much as possible. My husband flew out to meet me. And I really did just try to enjoy time as much as I could. Now, obviously, part of this was a work trip, and so I want to share some of the photos with you. First of all, I bumped into Jacoby Shaddix at the freaking airport, which was hilarious. Now, he was appearing at the convention in Vegas, so it wasn't completely out of the ordinary that I would bump into him, making a connection, going to the same place, but it was still random that we bumped into each other at the gate. So Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. Up here, Eddie Trunk was at the Godsmack show, as was Dana White from the UFC. Got a chance to hang out with Nita Strauss, who was in Vegas performing with Demi Lovato. Also had a chance to see Caleb and the guys from Beartooth. Went to a show and saw them at the Hard Rock on the Strip. They had a bowling event, and that is Sam from the band Architects. And it was a listening party for their new album that comes out on the 21st. And he was really cool. The upcoming Architects record is really, really good. So these were just some of the people that I got to see during my Vegas vacation. Sam actually from Architects was like, you need to begin drinking now and don't stop until you get on the plane. I did not follow his advice, but I tried my hardest. He's British. His idea of being able to hold his own with the liquor is a little bit stronger than mine, I think. But Sam from Architects, really cool. We went to this awesome bowling alley and got a chance to listen to the record. And it's the first time I got to meet him, and he was really cool. So now, something else that was awesome was that I got to go and see the guys from Godsmack. And this show happened the night before my birthday. And so I got to go to a listening event and check out like a half a dozen songs off of the upcoming new Godsmack album. And a little bit of trivia, Sully's saying that the end of this new Godsmack album, which is called Lighting Up the Sky, it's going to be out next year, ends with the start of the first Godsmack record, which I thought was really interesting. And that's how Sully described it. The band is super proud of this record. And so they had a listening party for us. And so we got to see the entire band, got to listen to a bunch of the new music. Then that Friday night, I actually went to the show. And one of the things that I did was I dug back through some old archived photos. Now, back on the first birthday that I ever spent on the air, it was October 1st, 1998. In the old WAF studio in Westboro, which is this top picture right here. My buddy Johnny Hollywood from the band Pistachio, Sully from Godsmack, and a bunch of friends showed up unexpectedly at the radio station. And when I answered the call from downstairs, they were like, "Let us in, you fucking bitch. It's your birthday. We're coming up." And it got crazy. They got me drunk in the studio. There was beer spilled everywhere. A hole got kicked in the drywall. Thought I was going to get fired the next day by my boss. Thankfully, I didn't. I guess it made for great radio. But this is a scan of a Polaroid that Sully and I took on my birthday in 1998 in the old WAF studio. I had not yet signed my first radio contract. Godsmack had not yet signed their first recording contract. They just at the time happened to be the biggest local band around, and we had become friends over the 6 months that I had started on the air. So I dug out the picture, I sent it to Sully, and I said, when I see you in Vegas, I want to remake this picture. He said, okay. And this is the remake 24 years to the day later, which is insane. It took us 20 minutes Dana White was watching us try and do this. Eddie Trunk was watching us do it. My husband was there. Sully's girlfriend was there trying to get it all right. If you have a Mistress Carrie backstage pass, I did show you some of the outtakes and some of the failed attempts. We took like 15 pictures before we realized we were standing on the wrong side. But this is about as close as we got. And I love the fact that 24 years later, not only are we still friends, not only is Godsmack still together, but that they're getting ready to release this new record. I obviously have launched this whole new life. Sully writing the theme song for Cocktails in the War Room and the Mistress Carrie podcast. And I think we did a pretty good job. So you guys let me know how we did with the pictures, but I think it's pretty damn close. I love this picture so much. And then this right here is literally at midnight when it became my birthday outside of Godsmack's dressing room. And that is a bottle of the Rock's Terramana tequila. They had like 4 or 5 different kinds of tequila in the dressing room. They had them all in the fridge. I tried them all, really liked the Terramana cold. And so that's the one I took and I saved the bottle. I don't have it here in the war room right now, but I do have the bottle. I meant to get the guys from Godsmack to sign it. I forgot to do it because I was drinking tequila out of the bottle, but this is, midnight on my birthday. So, hi Nugget. You want to come back up? Come here. Want to say hi to everyone? Want to say hi? Have a kiss? All right. She just wants me to pet her, I guess. So this is how my birthday started. Then, I can't wait to show you guys this picture. I had to get up a little early because I went and had lunch with my husband and Uncle Froggy. So if you remember in the early days of the Mistress Carrie podcast, I interviewed my Uncle Froggy, who was a LERP in Vietnam, is a Purple Heart recipient, and came home from Vietnam like a lot of people did, different, wounded, post-traumatic stress. If you haven't listened to his episode, I believe it's episode 14, correct me if I'm wrong. And I don't get to see Uncle Froggy very often. He grew up in Massachusetts, grew up with my parents. They were very good friends, but in the mid 80s, he moved away and never came back. And I've only seen him a few times in the last 25 years. When my parents had their 25th wedding anniversary, as my gift, I flew some of their oldest and dearest friends that didn't live anywhere around here anymore back home for the party. And Uncle Froggy was one of those people. I also saw Uncle Froggy about 15 years ago. He was working at a boarding school in rural Colorado, and I happened to be in Denver. And so we met for lunch. And then I was supposed to see Uncle Froggy a few years ago in Vegas, but I got laid off and then the pandemic happened. And so I wasn't able to see him. So this is the first time that I had seen Uncle Froggy in 15 years. Now we have talked, obviously. He was on the podcast, but he's not exactly technologically savvy. So he doesn't FaceTime. Email is a stretch. He doesn't really even text. So when we want to talk, I have to actually call him. He can read my text messages, but he doesn't understand how to text back. So I was like, look, I want to come and see you. He lives hours outside of Vegas, and he was like, it's your birthday. I am going to meet you. I'm going to drive up and see you. I can't wait to meet your husband. I know you're not going to have a car, and I want to go out for lunch. Now, you will remember if you go back and listen to the Uncle Froggy episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, we talked about photos of him when he was in the military. And I had asked him, do you have a picture of you in your uniform or whatever? And at the time he said no, because he knows that I would have tried to talk him into sending me the photo. This photo, Wednesday, he was on a 6-man long-range reconnaissance patrol team in Vietnam. And one of the guys on his team of 6 had a camera. And at one point during a patrol, took this picture of Uncle Froggy. And during the deployment, before Uncle Froggy was wounded, somehow the film got developed. I don't know where they got it developed, but he gave Uncle Froggy this photo. Now, Uncle Froggy was really mad because they were on an active patrol, and the guy that took the picture obviously wasn't watching his sector because he was taking photos. And so Uncle Froggy was really mad. But he's kept this photo. There's only one copy, and he has it in a frame, and it's been under glass for so long that he didn't even want to take it out of the frame because he was afraid that the picture would get ruined. So he brought it with him to lunch. So there I was at lunch trying to take photos of the photo to see if I could do some Photoshop restoration on it. And you can even see right here is a little bit of glare from the overhead lights in the restaurant because I couldn't take it out from behind the glass. But if you look really closely, you'll see him all kitted up. And that's Uncle Froggy on patrol in Vietnam. And so we had a chance. You'll see how tiny he is, like what a short little guy he was, which is why they called him Short Round in Vietnam. And definitely made him go and investigate some of the tunnels that they found because he's a tiny guy. He was a cross-country runner. He was a big basketball player, which is near where he got the name Uncle Froggy because he would go up to get rebounds and he could jump really high. And so they started calling him the Frog. And that's where his name came from. And so it wasn't, I think it took me until adulthood to find out that he had a name because I just grew up calling him Uncle Froggy. And so I was really excited to be able to sit down with him for a few hours. We had birthday cake. He got to know my husband and we had lunch. And I really did put the full court press on to try and get Uncle Froggy to come home and visit because he's 74 years old now. And before it gets too late and he gets too old to travel, I have been begging him to come home and spend some time with me at the house. And he said he would think about it. But this was us just before we said bye. We both started crying when we said bye. I told him the next time I come to Vegas, we'll meet up for dinner again. We swapped a bunch of stuff. I outfitted him with a bunch of Mistress Carrie gear. So he's got the hoodie now. He's got one of the tank tops. He's got a Cocktails in the War Room t-shirt. And he was really excited about that. And so I got to see Uncle Froggy. So if you have not yet, Richard Fitz says, when you can, could you post that so we can get a better view? Yeah, I'll make it bigger for you here. But I want to try and do a little bit of restoration if I can. Like I said, you can see the glare. I was trying really hard to get a good resolution of the photo. I mean, this picture is, 50 something years old, and it's the only copy. And he carried it with him for the rest of his deployment and then came home with it. So, if you know Uncle Froggy, you can definitely tell that that's him. But it's crazy that he actually had a picture with his boonie cap on and the whole thing. And I love this picture so much. So I'm going to do what I can to try and get it restored and color corrected. Ooh. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy with the picture. I'm trying to shrink it back down. Come on. There we go. But I couldn't wait to show you guys this picture because you got to know him so well on the podcast episode. And I was so happy that he brought the picture with him for lunch. So Michael Voorhees says that's where it came from, was trying to remember where I remembered the Short Round nickname from. That was Uncle Froggy's nickname by his guys in Vietnam. He needs a purple wig. Yeah, I know, right, Steven? Just got home from work, says Dave Green. What's up, Dave? Thank you for your service, Uncle Froggy, says Jacqueline. I have a couple of those stuck in glass for years that I don't dare touch. Yeah, exactly. Once you have one of these old pictures, I just don't know how you would even go about separating it from the glass. And so I just did what I could to take a really good picture of it with my cell phone. And so I'm going to try and get it blown up. I also have to print out this photo and send it to Uncle Froggy because he wants a picture of it. He wants a copy of it. So that was us in one of the casinos. And then I also wanted to show you guys some of the adventures that I went on in Vegas, just kind of running around on my birthday. I told my husband that once the convention was over, I wanted to go and just do some sightseeing stuff. I had always wanted to take a picture in front of the old Las Vegas sign. I'd never done it. It just, the opportunity never came up, but I always wanted to take this photo. And so after we had lunch with Uncle Froggy, we went down towards the end of the strip and waited in line, just like you do at the southernmost point in Key West, and took this photo. My husband and I took some great pictures together as well. And I've just always wanted this picture. It's one of those times, you know, being in Vegas, I just had never taken it. If you're wondering where this sign is, if you're getting ready to go to Vegas, all you have to do is find Las Vegas Harley Davidson, and it's literally across the street. So we went and took this photo. Then we went to the Harley dealership and did a little walking around and a little shopping. Right next door to the Harley dealership is the Hall of Fame for pinball. And as we were walking up to the Pinball Hall of Fame, you can see it in the photo that there was a big sign that said Rush Pinball is here. So I ran under, I mean, you can see just by the size of me in this photo, you can see me down there, how big this friggin' sign is. And I wanted to take this picture for Mike Shue because they were advertising the Rush Pinball game. So once we went inside, it's really interesting because there's all these old pinball games that you can actually play. Some of the games they're working on, and so they've got them all open and you can look at them. There were a lot of old vending machines. And so that is how I got my picture taken with the old Zoltar machine, which obviously if you've seen the movie Big, I had to take the Zoltar photo. You'll see in this picture behind the Las Vegas sign so that you can kind of put things in perspective and where on the strip we were. You'll see behind me right there is Mandalay Bay. And obviously October 1st, not only was my birthday, but it also commemorated the 5th anniversary of the horrific shooting on October 1st at the Route 91 Country Festival. And so as we were walking around, what you may or may not know is that my husband's cousin, probably the family member he's the most close to in his family, was actually there and survived the shooting. And so it was really important to us to go over and walk around a little bit and to pay tribute to the 58 people that were killed and the 800 and some odd victims that were wounded that day, or that night, I should say. We also walked around about a block off the strip. There is a church, which was like next to where the concert was in the parking lot. And a lot of people sought refuge there. And so MGM, who owns Mandalay Bay, has donated 2 acres of land right off the strip. And they're going to build a permanent memorial there. Construction hasn't started yet, but there was a sign commemorating the shooting and also that they were going to put a permanent memorial there. So it was really important for us to go and see that. And since I went and visited here, I watched the 4-part docuseries called 11 Minutes, which if you have not seen that yet, is a minute-by-minute breakdown of that horrific shooting, focusing on the heroes, focusing on the victims, but also looking at it from a law enforcement first responder perspective and an investigative perspective. And there was some interesting things about the shooter, who I won't name, and motive and how he was able to get all of those weapons into the Mandalay Bay kind of undetected, and some of the information on the investigation. So if you have not watched it yet, definitely check it out. It's a 4-part series. I think it's like 3.5 hours long over 4 episodes. But it is a pretty powerful thing. And so obviously having walked around and seen, and especially walking it with someone with marksmanship training, to be able to look up and see where at the hotel and then where the shooting happened and how they had the concert set up and where they had the gates and how tall the fences were. It just gave real perspective on not only what everyone survived, but specifically my husband's cousin, who was a survivor of the shooting. So I definitely wanted to go and do that. We continued walking down the strip for a while. Like I told you earlier, it was like 95 degrees. So we ended up walking around for a while. I think we walked like 4 miles that day. And then we went back to the hotel and got all dressed up. And that's what these pictures are. My husband asked what I wanted to do for my birthday. And I said, I want to go have lunch with Uncle Froggy. I just want to go walking around and sightsee a little bit. And then I want to go and have a really fancy dinner. So this top picture is us on our way to dinner. And what I didn't know is that my husband took this photo after dinner, right before my birthday was over. And he sent me the picture afterwards. And I didn't even know that he had taken the picture, but I just thought it was really sweet that he took it. And so this is kind of between the Uncle Froggy pictures, the tequila at midnight with Godsmack the night before. This is how I spent my birthday. Ryan says, yeah, really moving docuseries on Paramount Plus. That's the one I'm talking about. It's called 11 Minutes. It's not on Netflix. It's on Paramount Plus. The documentary, you can look for it. It's called 11 Minutes, and it's not a film. It's a docuseries. So it's in a string of 4 episodes. It can get really heavy. And I thought they did a really good job of representing a cross section of all of the people that were there, the first responders that were there in uniform, and also some of the first responders that were just there to attend a concert that ended up back at work, dressed as civilians, and also some of the stories of heroism by just regular people that rose to the occasion when they were needed. You can also see, I think the bigger discussion as people debate firearm violence in this country, and I'm not going to get into political debates about that, but something that I thought was really pertinent when you watch the docuseries is how the struggle to deal with what happened continues long after the incident. And I'm not just talking about the people that were injured or the families of those that were killed, but the effect that it took on the first responders. There was a nurse that was in the emergency room at one of the hospitals that said that after that incident, she quit as an ER nurse. She said she just couldn't do it anymore. She's still a nurse and still works, but she could not bring herself to work in an emergency room anymore after the shooting. The way that some of the military trained law enforcement talked about what it was like for them to survive the shooting when they compared it to their military time deployed and their military training. And also how a group of first responders, unlike law enforcement in Uvalde, and you know me, I am always the first person to give first responders the benefit of the doubt and support them. But after watching this docuseries called 11 Minutes, all I could think about was those photos of all of the law enforcement standing in the halls of that school in Uvalde, because that shooter in Texas didn't have anywhere near the capabilities that this shooter in Vegas had. The shooter in Vegas completely had everyone outgunned, including law enforcement, had the high ground. And the heroes in law enforcement that charged up 32 flights, and they were wearing cameras. A couple SWAT officers that just happened to hear the call and just drove there and had their stuff in the car and got kitted up and met and were like, we're just putting a plan together. We're not waiting. And there is video of these first responders and how quickly they reacted to get to that room. It's awe-inspiring. So if you haven't watched it, you definitely have to check it out. But it also made me really angry about the Uvalde shooting after watching how the police officers and first responders in Vegas responded. So Elsa says, have you seen Hocus Pocus on Disney? I have not seen it yet, but it is hugely successful already, and I'm definitely going to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, this the docu series about this, it's called 11 Minutes. You should definitely watch it. It is really, really powerful. I thought they did a really good job of kind of showing all aspects. Jason Aldean actually took part in it because he was on stage when the shooting started. And hearing his perspective and some of the other artists' perspective, one thing that I will tell you is one of the musicians that played had his infant child on tour, and they had a nanny. And the nanny was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay in the room across from the shooter. And he and his wife were down in the tour bus at the concert. And when he found out where the shooter was, he realized that his nanny and their infant child was next door to the shooter. And what an integral part the nanny played in them figuring out where the shooter was. It's a fascinating docuseries if you haven't watched it yet. So, everybody giving Penny some love. She says, stressed and tired. It catches up with you after a while. Penny, 100%. You know, we're all here for you. Eric says, our country station just had a candlelight vigil on Saturday regarding the shooting 5 years ago. Yeah, it's, you know, I was so aware. I mean, there were these giant messages on billboards all over Vegas. Even Allegiant Stadium had this massive LED screen on the front of the stadium, and it just said Vegas Stronger on the front. And I just really wanted to go down there and just kind of see it for myself. Because, like I said, it just, you know, I've seen so much news footage, and now that I've seen the docuseries and obviously knowing someone that survived the shooting, it's just crazy. So please go and watch it. All right, moving on. I want to talk to you guys about the podcast. Obviously, last week we got together here in the war room, and then shortly after I took off to the airport. So episode 121 was a long one. I told you it would be, because Edsel Dope from Dope is one of my oldest and dearest friends in music, and we had so much catching up to do, not only about some of the old times and some of our old memories, but also about Edsel's career in music now, and also what he's doing with the 3D image capturing that he's doing, which I just thought was super interesting. So if you haven't listened to this episode yet, you're going to have to probably break it down into bite-sized pieces. But Edsel and I had an unbelievable conversation. Mark says Jason Aldean admitted that he has PTSD from it. He's not the only one. The police admitted that they have PTSD from it. Obviously, a lot of the victims, the horrific injuries, some of the MRI scans, the families of some of the victims that were lost. It's heavy. It's 100% heavy. And there is so much cell phone video footage that has not been seen from people that were at the concert. Hearing the shooting and the rapid, there's no wonder they outlawed bump stocks after this, because just the number of rounds. And the fact that once the shooting started, it took 11 minutes It was a barrage of gunfire for 11 minutes. Jason Aldean's bass player got shot in the bass. There's a bullet hole in his bass. I mean, just unbelievable footage. So anyway, Edsel loved this episode. He's such a fascinating guy. And one of the reasons we have been friends for so long is that we both have these overactive work ethics, and we both look at a challenge. We both look at an obstacle put in our path as something that we need to get over or under or around or through, and that our careers have changed so many times over the years, getting his record deal, losing his record deal, just so many of the challenges with his career along the way. And to hear how he, embraces new technology and how he looks at the way the business functions now as opposed to how he did 25 years ago, I just knew he was going to be a fascinating interview. Michael Voorhees just said, when Cocktails in the War Room is over, 11 minutes is here. He put the link up to Paramount Plus. Let's see. Edsel is extremely talented and extremely business savvy, says Melissa. Really, really like this episode. Listen to the playlist after as well. Yeah, the playlist was a little bit of everything for sure. Definitely a lot of industrial music, a lot of heavy music, a lot of new metal stuff in there, but some great old stuff as well. Sorry, I need a drink here. Melissa also says the 3D and 4D stuff is amazing. And so one of the things that I did in the show notes of this episode is I put a link to his company so that you could go and see the Terry Crews video that he was talking about in the episode, because the technology is just unbelievable. Like, it's just this big dome with all these cameras. And the next time I go to California, I want to go and visit him at work, because it's just so fascinating how how this company functions. Just really, really cool. That brings us to episode 122 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And it is another hard worker in the industry and super excited. Episode 122 features guitar player Joel Hoekstra, who is not only the guitar player in Whitesnake, but also the guitar player in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Now, TSO has already announced all of their touring plans for this holiday season. They have got a bunch of dates in New England, including the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut, the SNHU Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire, and also the DCU Center. All of those dates are the same week in November, and every stop has a matinee show and an evening show as well. And all of the dates are on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. But Joel and I had a great conversation. He's a Chicago guy. And so we had a great conversation about growing up in Chicago, his guitar playing, how it all started, how diverse his career is. He's also Cher's guitar player when she does her residency in Vegas, that he's been working with everyone from Arnel Pineda from Journey to Mike Portnoy, the former drummer from Dream Theater. And it's a really, really interesting interview. And then, of course, we had to talk about baseball because he's from Chicago. So episode 122 goes live at midnight tonight, and it features Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And so if you're a Whitesnake fan, we talked a little bit about Whitesnake, but obviously the reason why they're not touring is David Coverdale is still recovering from an upper respiratory infection. And so Joel and I really focused. He's even got his own band called Joel Hoekstra's 13. He talked a lot about all of the different projects that he's working on. We talked a little bit about parenting. We talked about shoes, which you'll hear in the episode. So that episode goes live at midnight tonight. And if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, not only do you get the full-length episodes, not only do you get the bonus episodes, but you also get the sit rep, which only takes a break when I travel, because it's kind of hard for me to produce the sit rep while I'm on the road, especially while I'm drunk in Vegas. But the sit rep comes at you every Monday through Friday, giving you all of your rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, all of that stuff. And it's only 5 minutes long. So subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and it's available everywhere. Seriously, like, this is just a sample of the places you can listen to the podcast, including at mistresscarrie.com. If you want to just find the episode you want to hear, click the player button. You can listen to it right off the website. And anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search the Mistress Carrie podcast. When you find that artwork, you know you're in the right spot, and you can check out all of the episodes. We are holding strong at 130 countries still. I thought by now we would have hit 131. But every week, the international audience grows, and the top 5 countries are staying in order, which is also amazing to me. The United States at number 1, Canada at number 2, the UK at number 3, Russia at number 4, and Singapore rounding out the top 5. Next week, we'll go through the top 10 because 6 through 10 seem to shuffle a lot. Want to remind you about the Trinity of Terror tour. That's Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and Black Veil Brides. They are going to be at the Tsongas Center on November 17th with Atreyu on that date. Those tickets are on sale right now. And by the way, we had Chris Motionless from Motionless in White on the podcast recently, and Motionless in White is number 2 on the rock charts, and they are this close to getting their first number 1 song. So thank you to you guys for constantly supporting the newer bands that I'm bringing on the podcast, because these bands are just doing amazing things. Super excited. Matter of fact, all of the bands on the Trinity of Terror tour have already been on the podcast. Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, Black Veil Brides, and Atreyu. They've all been on. So pretty badass. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' new album is coming out next Friday. It's called Return of the Dream Canteen. They also released a new song last week in tribute to Eddie Van Halen called Eddie, that was inspired by a kind of melancholy riff that Flea brought to band rehearsal and writing sessions when the announcement came down that Eddie Van Halen had passed away. Want to remind you guys about Record Store Day, which is coming up the day after Thanksgiving. They are releasing a limited edition vinyl version of Return of the Dream Canteen on Record Store Day. And they're not the only artists that are doing exclusive releases for Record Store Day. There are a ton of them coming out for your holiday shopping. Dropkick Murphys, their new album, This Machine Still Kills Fascists, is available now. It came out last Friday. It's an acoustic album. And the Dropkicks have also announced all of their dates around St. Patrick's Day, the 17th and 18th at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway, and the 19th of March at the House of Blues. And all of those tickets are on sale right now. Keith says, need to get to 131. Step up your game, Carrie. What do you mean to 131? I'm working on it. It's 122 episodes. We're working on it. It is National Taco Day today. That's right, Melissa. I did not get tacos today, which is bullshit. But it is National Taco Day. Okay. The new Disturbed album is called Divisive. It's coming out on November 18th. And it's going to feature a song with Ann Wilson doing a duet with David Draymond, which I cannot wait to hear. Also, don't want to skip over this. Joe Satriani is going to be at the Orpheum coming up November 5th. Godsmack is going to release their new album, Lighting Up the Sky, in February of next year. They haven't announced a specific date. Surrender, the first single, is out now. They said the second single is going to come out around the release of the album in February. So that's all we know right now. Except what I told you earlier, that there's a great ballad on the record, that there's a lot of super personal stuff, Sully said, and that it's very possible that this is going to be the last full-length body of work that Godsmack releases, that they may release singles or EPs, and they're definitely going to tour, but as far as a full-length album, they really felt like this album brought them all the way back full circle, and that Lighting Up the Sky tees itself up to the first Godsmack record. And so it all kind of brought itself back around again. How? I'm going to have to go and listen to the new album and then go back and listen to the first record again to kind of figure it out. But want to remind you, coming up, AWOL Nation's going to be at the House of Blues in Boston on October 23rd. Queensryche and Judas Priest are going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway coming up on the 16th. Also, Iron Maiden is going to be at the DCU Center on the 17th. So two of the greatest voices in all of metal are going to be in town the same week. Lenny Kravitz, the trailer came out today for the new J-Lo rom-com with Josh Duhamel called Shotgun Wedding, and Lenny Kravitz makes an appearance as J-Lo's ex. His entrance is hilarious. Love Lenny Kravitz anyway. His acting career has been great, but the trailer came out today, and Lenny Kravitz is one of the stars. There is a new Giovanni and the Hired Gun song called Overrated that is also out now. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I think it's really, really good. So definitely go and check out the new Giovanni and the Hired Guns. Jeff Beck this week is going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway coming up on Thursday night. Like I said, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra tour already announced and on sale. November 23rd at Mohegan, November 25th at the SNHU Arena, November 26th at the DCU. Each one of these days has two shows, a matinee and a night performance, and details on all of the shows, as always, mistresscarrie.com. One of these days, I'm going to get used to the screen being backwards. Today is not that day, but I'm working on it. Wasp is coming to Boston at Big Night Live in November. Eric, that is also up on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Shannon, I am still waiting to find out if I'm getting more Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush tickets. I requested more, but haven't gotten confirmation yet. Now, speaking of Bush, their new album, The Outer Survival, comes out this Friday. The last date of that Bush Breaking Benjamin, Alice in Chains tour is actually Saturday night at the Xfinity Center. There may still be a few tickets left available, but I'm waiting to find out if I have more tickets to give away. The Cult are also releasing their new album coming up on Friday called Under the Midnight Sun, and Lamb of God are releasing their new album Omens on Friday as well. Want to remind you about a couple events that are coming up, especially this coming Thursday. I am going to be broadcasting live my show on 100 FM The Pike Thursday afternoon from Polar Park for the Battle of the Bands. It's the Woo Sox and 100 FM The Pike getting together. It's 5 bands over 4 hours. All of the details on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com, or you can go right to the Pike's website, pikefm.com. But I am going to be broadcasting live from Polar Park Thursday afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock for the Battle of the Bands this coming Thursday. And then this Sunday, I am going to be at the VFW Post 7272 in Bellingham. I am going to be one of the guest judges for the Barbecue Smoke-Off, which I'm very excited about as well. So that is happening this Sunday at the VFW in Bellingham, and details on both of these on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. My apologies, the mail call not happening tonight because I did not have time to get to check the mail. It's just been such a crazy couple of days, getting back from Vegas, trying to get back on the air, trying to get the podcast done, the sit reps back up and running. It's just been insane. So mail call, see, I told you, one of these days. Mail call returns next week, so we'll definitely go through what came in the mail next week. Also, want to remind you guys the cold weather's coming, and the hoodies and the beanies are fully in stock at mistresscarrie.com. And also, Mistress Carrie merchandise is also available at Joe's Albums. And if you're looking for a place to go and check out for Record Store Day, right here, Main Street in Worcester. If you're going to a show at the Palladium, if you're going to a show at the DCU Center, this place, it's literally around the corner. And so you can go and comb through all of the vinyl. Their website, joesalbums.com, has all of their inventory in there as well. And go and say hi to Joe when you go and go shopping. Tell him I said hi. All right. Oh, there's a little bit of a typo there. It is not Meatloaf's birthday. It's not Randy Bachman's birthday. That was last week. Neil Sims from Catherine Wheel celebrating his birthday today. And also Chris Lowe from the Pet Shop Boys. If you're celebrating your birthday on October 4th, that is who you share your birthday with. But I wanted to bring up LaJean Witherspoon for a reason. So LJ and I were born 48 hours apart. Same year, 48 hours apart. And I got invited to his surprise 50th birthday party in Nashville on Sunday. And I was flying back from Vegas. I tried to get a connection that would bring me through Nashville for a few hours so I could leave the airport and surprise LeJean at his birthday party, and I just couldn't make it happen. However, they put together this whole video montage of all of LeJean's friends that wanted to wish him a happy birthday that either could or couldn't make the party. And so I submitted a video. I haven't seen the full video yet. I have not been able to talk to LJ in person, but I know that I was part of his birthday video montage that he saw. He had no idea they were throwing a surprise party for him. And I told the story about the Thanksgiving dinner, eating it off his abs in the happy birthday message. So I'll let you know when I finally hear from LJ and what he thought about his surprise birthday party. I really, really wanted to make it to Nashville, and there was just no way I could get there from Vegas and then make it back on Sunday night to be able to work on Monday. So if you don't have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you always get extra photos when I travel. You always get more behind the scenes stories. You get an exclusive live stream every month, which I believe we're going to have to do this Sunday. Let me work it all out. I got to find out what time I'm going to be back from the barbecue, but we got to get together for the live stream. But if you don't have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you find out who's going to be on the podcast before everybody else. You get travel blog updates. You get information when tours are getting announced and when tickets are going on sale before it gets announced. You also get access to a ton of concert ticket giveaways. The Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush tickets are gone right now. However, if you have a Backstage Pass and you want to go, let me know, because if I do get more tickets, which I have requested, I'll have tickets for you guys. I also have the I Prevail tickets, and I'll have more tickets that are going to be up for grabs. So having a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass always gives you better opportunities to get access to concerts. And you can get a Backstage Pass on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or just click the Patreon button at mistresscarrie.com. And just a reminder, not only can you find me on mistresscarrie.com, but here are all of the links to all of the socials, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Cameo, YouTube, Patreon, but all the links. You just got to remember to go to mistresscarrie.com, and everything is right there for you. 50 laps, Carrie, says Keith. Happy unbirthday, Keith. I apologize. I started talking about LeJean, and I forgot to wish you a happy unbirthday. So happy birthday to everybody celebrating birthdays, and happy unbirthday, Keith. 50 laps, I know. I apologize. So I think that's it. Vegas was great. I will have more Vegas stories for the Backstage Pass holders when we get together for the live stream. More photos to show you. Definitely some travel tips if you're going to be headed to Vegas anytime soon. One thing I did do before I go, I did see the Sphere venue that is under construction by the Venetian. It is that massive spherical shaped venue. It's the biggest spherical structure on earth. The thing cost about $1 billion. And I saw the construction. It's over by the Venetian. And that's where U2 is going to do their residency starting next year. So that was unbelievable. And Allegiant Stadium, it was I-beams the last time I was in Vegas. Obviously now it's open and they've been having concerts and football games in there, but just could not believe how big it was. Just insane. And also, the way that they're building up the end of the Strip and bridging the gap between the Strip and downtown Vegas and the Fremont Street experience, there are all of they call it the art district that's kind of in between, and it's all getting built up now. And there is a new sports book and this massive new hotel and casino that is right down in the middle of Old Town, and it's called Circa. Huge, beautiful, ridiculous stadium pool, and their sports book is insane there, and that is where they had the Godsmack listening party. So we got a chance to kind of walk through it. It opened last year, and the place is huge. So I'll have more Vegas tips for the Backstage Pass holders. I will be back next week here in the War Room. Don't forget, episode 122 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring the one and only Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Thank you guys for all the birthday love. I really appreciate it. And I will get back to all of your messages because it's been a crazy week trying to respond to everybody. But I really appreciate all the love. And I made it through my birthday and I survived. And I think my liver did too. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Right, Wednesday?